here, Outsider.
Yeah, let's get a shot of Outsider up here. Outsider, I say this a lot about it, but it's very true. It's a map that rewards creative playstyle. It's actually a very weird map for Protoss vs. Terran, more so than the other matchups, because there's a lot of funky things you can do, especially when you consider that there's 2 gas geysers, which, if either race secures, have huge impacts on the game.
That's quite true.
If Protoss gets 2 gas geysers, the amount of arbiters, and you put 4 Templars in a shuttle, and then you have a few arbiters with that. You stasis their army, you storm the rest, and then you camp out there until stasis thaws, and that's going to be game. But at the same time, for Terran, if they can secure those locations and get enough turrets to where arbiters can't get in there, that's going to be a nightmare as well.
That's right. Now, this map for Terran versus Protoss, the late game is extremely hard. You know, Ghosty Terran is going to be able to do a really great timing push if he wants, if that's what he chooses to do.
And I think that's the best way to play on this map.
Yeah, it's either that or dropships, in my opinion. So, you know, I think he can get a really great timing push off, but the problem is once Infernal starts to get any number of arbiters, just the area you have to cover is actually impossible to cover against arbiters. Yep. Arbiters can get in if the Protoss wants them to.
Absolutely.
So the late game becomes a very difficult and messy situation for Terran. You have to be really quick with the EMPs. You have to defend very, very quickly.
I was about to say, yeah, the only thing Terran can do in those positions is actually use the science vessels defensively. You suddenly be like, okay, I'm going to put the science vessels where I predict arbiters to come in. I'm going to EMP them, because one weird thing about Protoss versus Terran is in late game, if an arbiter is EMP'd, suddenly this game seesaws back in the Terran's favor.
Yes.
So that's the best way to do it if you mess up, is to go into super defensive mode and just wait and then deflect. And return aggression.
Quite true. Well, you know, we're in kind of a hard position for Ghosty Terran now. Fighting Spirit, that should have been his best map. We saw that actually he was well prepared for it. Outsider, this was actually a Courage map in the season before, so I'm sure he knows this map quite well. So, you know, here's his chance to start coming back, especially on the slightly Protoss-favored map. So, anyways, without further ado, I want to see this next game, man. Infernal's playing well, Ghosty Terran's playing well. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's
do
go.
it, guys.
Alright, here we go. The map is Outsider. In the top right, we have Ghosty Terran as, guess what, Terran. In the 9 o'clock position, we have Infernal as Protoss.
You know, at least he's not doing that Crane thing where he names himself something like Toss Girl, even though he's a Terran player, and it doesn't make any sense at all.
Doesn't make any sense. I hate that.
So, yeah.
You don't name yourself Marine and then choose Protoss.
I know.
That's not how it works.
That actually just makes my heart rate go up, Dan. Just thinking about that.
I know,
because
it's stressful.
When you're trying to cast players with those names, it actually messes you up.
Marine is dying to the Marines. It's like...
Yeah, it's a problem.
Toss Girl getting smashed by Toss because she's Terran.
And you know what's funny is whenever you see these Korean players pick a unit to name themselves after, it's never the Arbiter or the Queen. It's always this, like, Tier 1 unit.
Yeah, yeah. So let's take a look-see here at Infernal's main base. Open up with the pylon right there. I would not be even a little bit surprised if he does the exact same build as last game, or maybe a 12 or 13 Nexus, because it's so good here. You can just expand in, you know, the bases behind your main, and those are super safe. They cannot be bunker rushed. They cannot be two-facted.
The only problem with doing the super fast Nexus in these Nook bases in the back that can't be expanded. Two is that you don't get that gas, so you either have to opt to cut Dragoons to get the robotics facility, or you have to take a gamble and say, all right, I don't think he's going to get dropships, or I don't think he's got that fast armory. So that's the danger. That's the lack of stability with that, is that you get this head start, but you lack intelligence.
Very true. Now we see in Infernal's base, he is opening up with Gateway Assimilator, so maybe the same build as last game. You know, he's very, very comfortable with that build, uses it more than any other build in Protoss versus Terran. In the meantime, Ghosty Terran deciding to get a gas this game. Good move. I do agree with that.
I hear Vespian gas is quite good in StarCraft.
It's good, especially against Protoss.
You know when it's really good is when you get it with minerals.
Oh yeah, that's quite true.
Because then you can get actually everything you need in the game.
Wow.
You heard
that's
it here,
a good
man.
tip. I'm going to write that one down.
Call me crazy.
All right, well.
But it's true.
We see Infernal has scouted Ghosty Terran quite quickly, harassing a little bit with that probe there. And Ghosty Terran, what do you have in store for us this game? I do not know, but he is scouting around inside his side bases looking for any possible proxies. And in the meantime, Infernal, not going for the same build as before. He does have a second pylon going up, so not quite as fast in an expansion as we saw last game.
I want to mention, it kind of just dawned on me, but I want to tell the people watching, what's actually so clever about his build in the previous games is because you don't see the second pylon, and in fact he's making a Nexus. But when you don't see that, any good Terran player, I mean, just like you for instance, is trying to be like, uh-oh, hidden tech.
Yeah.
This guy's hiding a Citadel, isn't he?
And
then you erect all these turrets, when in fact this guy's just making another base.
Yeah, and even if you very quickly scout that Nexus, it's a build order you never see because it's a cross between Gateway Expansion and 12 Nexus.
It messes with the
so
timing
it's like
of
this
it.
weird timing, and suddenly all the builds you have that are timed out against their various builds, they don't quite work anymore. So you kind of have to freestyle it, unless of course Infernal is one of your practice partners.
Otherwise, you just send the SCB to where the expansion is.
Yeah.
To stop the Nexus from being made. You know what's smart about it, though, is that if you're a good player in scouting, you always keep that in the main.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to go to the expansion, because if you go down there and check,
They can
and there's
block
nothing
the
there,
ramp.
they can't get back up the ramp, which is what's kind of funny about it. Second Marine is out, so obviously Ghosty Terran does want to get rid of these units. Let's get a shot over here of how many SCVs are in the Vespian Gas Geyser. Still 3.
Well, 3 after the command center
Oh, I'm
has
sorry,
been
I
made.
might have missed that. Did he actually add more?
Yeah, you added them back on, so a pretty standard play here. Ghosty Terran opting to expand down to the mineral base, and what this tells me is that he does not want to get siege mode very quickly this game. With getting siege mode, a very expensive upgrade. It costs 150 gas, 150 minerals, and it slows down additional factories. So this is actually going to allow Ghosty Terran to get factories up quicker, or any other tech you want to get up quicker, because the high ground allows them to defend against Dragoons without the siege mode. So that's basically what we're seeing, and look at this. He's opting to go for quicker tech. If we take a quick look next to the expansion Ghosty Terran is making, he is getting a starport. But Infernal back at home, if we look at his base real quick, he is making a quick robo. He does have some Dragoons trying to stop this SCV, and he does stop it from scouting him. But he is going to get that robo up, and if he goes for quick observers, he's going to be able to scout out that starport and hopefully for him stop any drops.
This is an interesting situation because I really don't think you can go for a very quick robo before expansion against Terran, because if they go for the fast starport, their ability to harass you is huge. But let me line it up. You can't go quick Reaver. That's not going to work. And your expansion is going to get out a little bit later. And Terran's going to fast expand on a map like this. This is a safe play by Ghosty. Even if he can't get those double gas geysers right away, if the game progresses like it normally would, he's going to end up taking those double geysers after he mines it out.
The good thing about Infernal's build, let's look at the positive for a moment here, and I do like it. I think that he definitely feels after that first game, okay, I'm actually playing well in a tournament that matters for once. Maybe I'll do something that's, a little bit on the safe side. One Gateway Observer is pretty safe. He's going to be able to scout everything out, such as these drops,
safe, yeah.
and I think that is a decent reason for doing that. We see that his Nexus, it's almost up as natural. The Observer is moving out, but the starport pretty well hidden, along with Vultures in the top left of Ghosty Terran's main base. So even though the Observer is going to be up there, Ghosty Terran may, in fact, if the Observer goes in the wrong direction, get Vultures into Infernal's base before he even knows.
I'm curious about this because I'm not sure. Does that actually block the over here inside? If we can get a shot of it. Infernal's main, this pylon in the observatory, I don't know if that's a clean block, but that's going to be a strategy if he does go for the vulture move, which I think he will.
I do believe that this will stop any vultures from getting up there, so it's a very smart move in that way. Ghosty Terran will have to bring the dropship all the way into the main base to do any real damage with the vultures, and that's good because, if you drop them out beforehand, you're going to kill many more probes than if you have to drop them out slowly out of the dropship in the main base. So definitely a good move by Infernal there.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. Okay, the dropship's on the move, and it's not where I think you or I expected it to be. This is going to be very interesting because nobody's prepared for this. We weren't even prepared for it as analysts of this game. And this means they could actually deal a lot of damage. This is like the only place that I don't think Infernal has vision of.
That's right. This was a great drop by him.
Really smart.
Going up the side that Infernal didn't think he'd see. The Dragoons now moving into the main base. Ghost Terran moving up with the Vultures. This is going to be totally execution now. Will he be able to kill a lot of probes? And no, he's getting a lot of hits by those Dragoons. But here he goes behind the minerals and starting to snipe some probes.
Actually, I have to say I'm a little bit shocked that he's not getting more probes here. Anything could change, but really, I think he got a total of 4 probes.
He did not get as many. Oh, but a Spider Mine hits that Reaver. I don't know if the Observer caught that, but a Spider Mine did hit that Reaver, so it's a lot less hit points. And a Wraith being made out of the starport in Ghostly Terran's expansion. So, that drop did not do what it could have done. When you do Vulture drops, it is entirely based off your execution. Execution wasn't there, but here we go. A Reaver drop countering Ghostly Terran here. Not a lot of SCVs as natural and pulling him away very quick. Quick eyes on this young Mexican Terran, only losing 1 SCV so far.
Yeah, he's doing a great job using those F2 keys to hotkey his screens to his bases so he can actually shift workers from these locations. And actually, if this Wraith gets out and takes out the shuttle, even though the harassment drop didn't work, he's going to end up punishing Infernal for taking a risky move and actually engaging in fun. Oh my god! This is actually disastrous right now for Infernal.
So huge right now, man. It does not even matter. He lost those Vultures doing little damage.
Yeah.
He has now gone ahead, killed the shuttle. He's going to take out the Reaver now easily because of that block with the Observatory and Pylon. No way for Infernal to get down there with the Dragoon to defend this Reaver. So a lot of minerals down the tube for Infernal.
All this Reaver can do is sit here and think about, wow, Wraiths do so little damage to ground units, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately Infernal flew me into the Terran area. And I think that was a big blunder by Infernal. A Reaver is great defense. It's not just for offense.
Yeah.
So get the Reaver, be like, all right, well, I tech to Reaver anyways. I'm going to have this. If he tries to do a mid-game push, I'm going to win. But don't throw that Reaver out there.
Yeah.
It's like flying a Nexus around their base. Yeah.
Yeah. That's only Terran can do that.
Nexus. The point being that, of course, Nexuses are quite expensive. I mean, that's really what you're doing.
Indeed. Of course, I'm just being facetious, but let's take a quick look at exactly what's going on in these guys' bases. Let's take a quick look first at Ghostly Terran's main base, adding a lot of factories right now. He does have that 3rd base up with the 2nd gas. Very important to get the 2nd gas so he can afford more factories and really hit some sort of good timing. He has a ton of minerals because of that mineral expansion and doing all that gas-heavy tech early on.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a look in Infernal's main base. He's going for the Quick Arbiter again. He does have 3 base, and he does have a decent amount of gateways, 4 so far. He's going to have to add more really quickly, and look at that. He hears me speaking as he throws up some more gateways immediately. I am Artosis. My voice goes through time and space, through StarCraft replays to tell people what they should be doing.
People are having Star Wars nerd visions of you as they're playing the game.
That's
right.
This
ghost-like form of just
Obi-Wan Artosis.
Make additional factories.
That's right. Now, Ghostly Terran making a ton of factories. He's going to want to hit a super duper Alaka Trooper strong timing push on Infernal here. But Infernal, if we do look at his natural, he's got a couple shuttles. One of them has 2 High Templars in it. And, nothing stops a timing push better than High Templars in a shuttle.
What's funny about going double shuttle is that, now we have seen, there was a trend, if you remember, briefly, about a year ago. We saw a lot of it on GOM TV of these timing attacks where you actually fly 2 shuttles in there, one's full of Dragoons and Zealots. And
Thanks to Zhang B.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember looking at it and being like, God, I don't know if that makes any sense, but somehow it's actually working. And the other one was full of a Reaver and taking that out. But, oh wait, hold that thought, because we have shuttle speed with a storm drop. This is a very healthy tech evolution here, but it has to deal the damage, and this is the critical moment here. The Templars are out, and I think they're going to do 100% effective damage.
Yeah,
wow.
You know what? He just did a lot of damage to the economy of Ghostly Terran, but here's the thing, okay? He lost the shuttle, he lost 2 Zealots, he lost 2 High Templars, and right now Ghostly Terran has
my God. He's actually just got SCVs
of factories. Yeah,
and he's actually made so many factories he can't go back to making SCVs.
That's right.
So it's all going to be about one timing push.
Exactly, Tasteless, exactly. We see that Infernal taking a 4th base right now, but at the same time we see a little drop behind Infernal's 3rd mineral base, and that shuttle brought over the Dragoons in time to be able to take this out, but some damage done. He stopped him from mining for a bit to kind of equalize what has happened here with that storm drop. But Ghosty Terran, it is time to move out, and out he does move. His supply very close. His supply is actually huge right now. He lost a lot of SCVs right there. He's cut a lot of SCVs as well. He still has 133 supply compared to Infernal's 126, so he has more supply and definitely a higher unit to worker ratio than Infernal has.
Well, I don't think Infernal ever got a glimpse of the fact that there's like at least 2 more factories than we would normally expect. And what happens to a lot of Protoss players is they don't actually prepare for a push. And all of a sudden they get out of position. And he has 2 shuttles, and by the way, that's really good against tank-heavy pushes.
Yeah.
But it might not matter because even though a stasis can be pulled off here, hold that thought actually, here's the battle now. Everybody jumping out of the shuttles. And actually this, I think, is going to be a very effective deflection here by Infernal. But actually, maybe not, because he did manage to save all the tanks, and actually one scan, and all these Dragoons are going to get cleaned up, and suddenly we realize he never had the army.
Alright, so we see there are no High Templars left, but the shuttles are still there. Nothing in them right now. Zealots running out, being reinforced. Where are your reinforcements, Ghosty Terran? You really need those up there. He needs to keep on top of producing vultures and sending them in. If he can do that, he can win this game. But it looks like one stasis is ready for that Arbiter. Still, no High Templars, no time to get High Templars in Size Storm. So he's going to have to rely basically upon ground units and a stasis. One stasis going off, getting 2 tanks. Still plenty of tanks. As long as he can get vultures down there, Ghosty Terran should be able to take this game down quite easily.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The tanks are actually just edging forward here. The mineral natural's gone. It's not going to be saved. But if you get in position and you just siege up, and this is the location where you can make turrets, and by the way, speaking of turrets that have legs, there are Goliaths. So,
I didn't know we were speaking about turrets with legs, but that is quite true. These things are going to help out quite a bit against the shuttle-heavy army of Infernal here. And Infernal looks like he is just about dead, man. This is too many Terran units for him to deal with. And here we go, Ghosty Terran marching right in there. And Infernal, he has no stasises left. So few units left, and I just can't see it. Pung mode, 1A, 2A, 3A, GG. Infernal falls, and it is now 1-1. An exciting series so far.